If this story were pitched as a Hollywood screenplay, it would be dismissed as pure fantasy. How could one immigrant dominate three impossible worlds, becoming the ultimate sports icon, defining an era of action cinema, and reaching the highest political office in California within a single lifetime? To the public, he is the embodiment of the American dream, a symbol of triumph over all odds. But behind the surface of fame and fortune lies flesh and blood, ambition and obsession, victory and betrayal. Behind the $1 million smile was a relentless drive to escape a brutal childhood. This drive built empires, both physical and political, yet it came with a cost. We saw the Terminator, but never the man enduring secret pain, failed surgeries, or personal betrayals. To understand the legend, we must start at the beginning, in the ruins of a country defeated, yet full of lessons that shaped him. Born into ruins, Arnold Alois Schwarzenegger was born on July 30th, 1947, in Thal, a small village outside Graz, Austria. But the world he entered was one of devastation. Austria had been defeated in World War II, its cities occupied, its people demoralized. The Schwarzenegger household mirrored the scarcity. There was no electricity, no central heating, no indoor plumbing. Water came from an outdoor well, even in bitter winter. Yet the harshest element in the home wasn't the cold. It was his father, Gustav Schwarzenegger, a towering man, former Nazi party member and the local police chief. Gustav's authority was absolute, his discipline rigid, his presence intimidating. Childhood was less about play and more about survival. In this small, broken village, Arnold learned early that life offered no guarantees. He observed suffering, hierarchy, and fear as constant companions, shaping a mindset that would later fuel both obsession and resilience. The father, the rival, and the bruised boy. Arnold's father applied brutal Darwinian logic at home. Gustav pitted Arnold and his older brother, Meinhard, against one another, praising winners and mocking losers. Meinhard often won, becoming the golden child, while Arnold was dismissed, ridiculed, and sometimes beaten. Physical abuse was common when alcohol loosened Gustav's control. Hair was pulled, belts were swung. Instead of crushing him, this cruelty taught Arnold detachment. He learned to see his family, village, and even his country as worlds he didn't belong to. While Meinhard eventually succumbed to alcoholism and died tragically in a car accident, Arnold hardened. Pain became motivation. He recognized early that survival required more than obedience. It required vision, focus, and a relentless refusal to be defined by anyone else's expectations. The fire that would eventually shape his future was already burning. The dark theater and the American dream escape arrived in the form of cinema. Arnold discovered a small, dark theater in Graz, where newsreels and films painted an alternate reality. Towering cities, gleaming cars, sunshine, and confident people who seemed born to win. This was America, the opposite of the gray despair he knew. The dream sharpened into a plan when he saw Reg Park, the British bodybuilder and Mr. Universe, on a magazine cover. Park's transformation from athlete to movie star in America became a blueprint. Arnold realized that the body could be a vehicle, a passport, and a weapon. His mother, Aurelia, was horrified by the imagery of sculpted men, and his father scoffed at his ambition. But Arnold had seen the path. No longer a vague hope, America represented opportunity, reinvention, and dominance. From that moment, he set his sights on escaping Thal, Austria, and building a life that would defy the ordinary. The gym as a prison break. Arnold's obsession quickly became all-consuming. He trained with a fanaticism that terrified others, sometimes breaking into the local gym on Sundays when it was closed. He sculpted his body in freezing conditions, his hands sticking to cold iron bars. The gym was more than exercise. It was escape. This obsession followed him into mandatory military service at 18, where he exercised while others rested. His single-minded drive led him to desert his post temporarily to compete in the Junior Mr. Europe contest in Stuttgart, Germany, despite having no proper posing experience or oil. He won. When he returned, he was imprisoned for a week. Yet in that dark, solitary cell, Arnold smiled. Victory wasn't only in the gym. It was in defying expectations, breaking rules, and proving that his destiny was not confined by ordinary limits. The Austrian oak becomes American steel. Arnold's journey took him from Munich to London, but the ultimate prize awaited in America. In 1968, he arrived in the United States with a gym bag, thick accent, and a vision bordering on delusion. He had been summoned by Joe Weider, the bodybuilding impresario who saw the Austrian giant's potential. Yet America wasn't instantly welcoming. His first U.S. competition in Miami ended in defeat by Frank Zane, a smaller, more defined American. Arnold cried in private, realizing that mass alone wasn't enough. He didn't give up. Instead, he analyzed every weakness and moved to Venice Beach, California, where Gold's Gym became his cathedral. There he began the relentless reconstruction of his body, mind, and strategy. The Austrian oak was being forged into American steel, a body capable of bending both iron and destiny. The mind games that made a champion. Arnold's genius wasn't just physical, it was psychological. He dissected his body scientifically, targeting every weakness, but he also mastered the art of mind games. Before contests, he would charm and befriend rivals, then subtly plant seeds of doubt. He questioned a competitor's health, cracked jokes to unsettle, and ensured that victory began long before stepping on stage. He surrounded himself with a tribe of giants: Franco Columbu, Dave Draper, Ken Waller, training, eating, and laughing together. Yet beneath the camaraderie was a predator sharpening his edge. He understood that dominance required both muscle and mind. By 1975, after 6 consecutive Mr. Olympia victories, Arnold had achieved the impossible. He was not just a champion, he was a master of strategy, perception, and persona. Hollywood laughs, then learns. Arnold's arrival in Hollywood was met with ridicule. Casting agents dismissed him as too big, too foreign, too weird. Maybe a Nazi guard, maybe a wrestler, they suggested. But Arnold turned each perceived weakness into a weapon. He retreated from bodybuilding temporarily, studying acting, working on speech, and building presence. It wasn't talent that mattered. Presence did. He approached each role as he approached the gym. Endless repetition, scientific observation, and obsessive attention to detail. The industry's gatekeepers believed they could block him, but they underestimated a man who had already lifted the world. He would not ask permission. He would force the world to see him as a star. Conan and the birth of a new genre, Arnold's breakthrough, came with Conan the Barbarian in 1982. Hollywood expected small, gritty performances. Arnold was a 250-pound human spectacle. His first films were clumsy. Hercules in New York required dubbed dialogue, but he persevered. Like in the gym, he refined, repeated, and improved. Conan was more than a character. He was an extension of Arnold's persona, primal, unstoppable, monumental. He wielded the sword like a living weapon, his accent becoming part of the mystique. The world of cinema had never seen a figure like him, and by 1984, with The Terminator, Arnold had changed the shape of action films forever. Muscle and mind had merged into myth, and the man from Thal had arrived as a global force. The Terminator in politics. Arnold approached politics with the same methodology that had propelled him in sports and film: charisma, psychological mastery, and relentless vision. As governor of California, he broke conventions, inviting legislators into smoking tents, bending rules creatively, and cultivating a post-partisan image. He combined fiscal conservatism with social liberalism, environmental reforms, and infrastructure investment. World leaders sought photos with him, not just guidance. Yet politics was not a movie. Lawsuits, union strikes, and public scrutiny tested him in ways bodybuilding and acting never could. The greatest threat came from within: ambition, ego, and personal choices. Even the Terminator could not fully anticipate the human consequences of his own decisions. The true cost of ambition. Arnold Schwarzenegger's life is a monument to ambition, resilience, and vision. From the ruins of post-war Austria to the pinnacles of sport, Hollywood, and politics, he redefined possibility. But behind every triumph lay sacrifice, personal betrayals, relentless obsession, and hidden vulnerabilities. Ambition sculpted him as much as the gym, shaping not only his body, but his identity, relationships, and destiny. Victory was intoxicating yet dangerous. In the end, the story is not just about power, fame, or muscle. It is about the price one pays to escape history, rewrite destiny, and forge a legend that endures. The Austrian boy from Thal became a global icon, but every icon carries shadows, proving that ambition, for all its glory, is never without cost.